Hey guys, how are you feeling today? Third time's the charm. I recorded this twice already, but I've been having some serious microphone issues, and I'm actually wondering whether this microphone's dead by now. It just sounds super muffled and so unprofessional. So this is the last time I'm recording this, and if it turns out kind of muffled, I'm really sorry, but I've been trying different techniques and it's not working. But anyway, I have an announcement to make. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we're reaching 100 subscribers. Holy crap! I can't believe it. And well, right now we're at 98, but I'm pretty sure that by the time this episode comes out, we'll be at 100. Because I'm gonna try to convince people to make YouTube accounts for their children, and then those children can be subscribed to me, and I make some quick subs so that it makes sense for me to do this 100 subscriber special. And I was thinking, what can we do as something special? I had some ideas. I could do some augmented reality stuff with my head, but my computer can't handle it. So I'm just gonna give you guys a gift of knowing my secret weapon in all of this. I actually have a secret weapon that helped me survive this treatment. Thing is, I know you guys. I know you're gonna make so much fun of me. So the 100 subscriber special, in fact, is my that you can make fun of me for this thing. But this was actually really important for me, okay? And I legit, I'm seriously telling you, this thing helped me a lot. And the thing I'm talking about is my animal companion, Bowie. And I'm not joking. I had this guy with me during the whole treatment because I have such fond memories with him. This is something, I'll tell you the story of how I came to acquire this little guy here. It was actually, I think we have time. Yeah, we have time. What happened was, back in 2010, so this is 10 years ago, my brother and I went to the house of his friend, one of his best friends, called Anna. Anna is the most lesbian person I know. She could crush me like an ant. And I consider myself a strong guy, but she's 10 million times stronger than me, both in character and in physique. But anyway, Anna, like many American millennials, used to have what was called a Beanie Baby collection. Now, for all of you foreigners, Beanie Babies are one of the most expensive, sought after, and collectible stuffed animals in the world. And they used to be really, really, like, much more popular than they are now. And many American people had huge Beanie Baby collections with all the animals you can imagine. And they had them in the bed or like in a closet or something. And as those millennials grew up, eventually they like abandoned this collection, and what they did was they put them in like a bag. Ooh, what's this? They put them in a bag and just abandoned them in the bag because, you know, what are you going to do with that? And those bags of collections of Beanie Babies are worth thousands of dollars now. They're worth a small fortune. So if you have one, you should definitely try to sell it unless you really like it. But anyway, point is, she had a huge Beanie Baby collection, and I was there with my brother. We were really drunk, and we drank so much beer that day. And I remember I was looking through her stuff because we were in her room, and not like that, not like what you're thinking. I was just looking around her room because she had cool stuff, and I was like, you know, looking at the shelves, and she had some really cool stuff that she had picked up from different countries, and her closet was open, and there was this huge bag of Beanie Babies, and I immediately recognized them. I'm like, damn it, this is a Beanie Baby collection. Pretty amazing. And on top of this collection was this little guy that you're seeing here. And I grabbed him and I saw his little face, and I'm like, Alex, like I call my brother, I'm like, Alex. And he comes over and he's like, what is it? And I'm like, Alex, we're leaving. And he's like, what do you mean we're leaving? I'm having fun. And I show him Bowie's little face, And he just looks at him and he's like, we're leaving. And so we said, okay, Anna, bye, we're going. And Anna sees Bowie in my hands, and she's like, you can't just steal my property. Like, super American of her to say that. Just can't steal my property, like, that's mine. And we're like, we're taking Bowie. Bowie is ours. And she laughed, and we literally just left her front door. And we just walked out of her apartment. And I remember on the bus ride home, my brother and I were just like looking around at and thinking of like, what's a good name for this guy? Because we didn't know what to call him. And we were thinking of all these names, and they were all super stupid, and they were like doggy names. And then out of nowhere, my brother just shouts, Bowie! And we're like, yes, that's the name. So we called him Bowie. And there's a whole history behind Bowie, because we would exchange him every time we saw each other. He would come from Amsterdam or Hungary or wherever he was, and he'd bring Bowie. And I'd have him for a year, and then next time we saw each other, he'd have Bowie for a year. And we sort of did this like exchange game. And it's just, there's lots of love in this little guy. And so when I had to like put together what stuff I'm going to take to the hospital when I was first diagnosed, Bowie was there, and I'm like, I'm taking him with me. He's going to be like my little friend. And you'll be surprised how useful it is to have a stuffed animal. Because when I was going through like what I call the abyss, which is what I'm going to explain now, it was just really good, not as a companion, not really. It was good as something physical to hold. You know, when something was really painful, you could really like squeeze this little stuffed animal, and it really would help. And it was also it was a constant, you know, like when things were really down and everything was all over the place and I wasn't sure what was going on, I had this little guy with this little stupid face looking at me, and I'd be like, it would sort of ground me, you know, it would be like a totem. It would ground me and be like, okay, you know, like, hold on, one thing at a time. And it was just super useful. And it was my secret weapon. And and all the nurses absolutely lost their minds when they saw Bowie. Like, honestly, how many of you lost your minds when you saw this little guy from all the way where you're sitting? Like, let's look at this guy's face. I mean, I mean, who doesn't smile when they see his face? So that's Bowie, and that's my gift to you guys for 100 subscribers. I wish I could give you something else, but this is the best I can do. So you got to see me and talk about my little friend, my little animal companion. He's the best thing I have that's sort of like a pet. I never had a pet, so this is as close as I get. But anyway, moving on to the story. Actually, I'm going to finish the story of what the treatment was, but I think next episode or the one after that is going to be the last episode, really. There's nothing really left to talk about. And I already talked 1/3 of the time. Anyway, so what happened? We had the treatment, right? We had the chemo, then the radiation treatment. That already started to give me side effects like puking and throwing up and crapping everywhere and serious diarrhea. And it slowly started having other effects, like, for example, my esophagus, mouth, gums, and digestive system would kind of peel off because of the radiation. Mucositis is what it's called, mucositis, which is sort of peeling away, the death of the mucous membrane around certain parts of your body. Of course, I was having other side effects like hair loss, and my eyesight got pretty much worse almost immediately. But point is, I was getting side effects and they were getting worse. And when they gave me the bone marrow, the spice melange, you'd expect the side effects to get better, but they didn't. They actually got way worse, because what was happening was the first 3 days when they gave me the bone marrow, they didn't touch me. They were like, we're going to have to let the bone marrow do its thing, which meant that all the white blood cells that came with the bone marrow, because it's like a mixture of stuff, it comes with all kinds of cells, white, red, plaquettes, whatever. But the white blood cells, because it's only 50% compatible, they would start attacking my body, but more importantly, they would also attack any cancerous, carcinogenic cells that were left. So in a way, on the one hand, it's killing off anything that's left, any cancer that was left, it was killing it off, purging everything. But at the price, at the cost of also attacking my own body. And the more you left it doing its thing, the more chances there were of it killing off all the cancer cells, but also the more chance it had of causing more serious damage to me and my own body. So, you know, they said, okay, 3 days, oh crap, I'm gonna die here. 3 days, that's enough, and then we're gonna see what we do after that. And in those 3 days, I had the worst fever I've ever had in my life. I had, it was 39 to 40 degrees, and they couldn't give me anything to lower it, only paracetamol every 4 hours. The paracetamol would give me 1 hour of respite, where I felt kind of okay, where I could talk to my family and tell them I'm fine and things like that. But the rest of the 3 hours was agony. So imagine puking, crapping. My mouth was getting sore already. I was already getting bloody gums, and then throw some fever onto that. And really, that's the abyss. What I call the abyss. Like, you start losing time, concept of time. You don't respond to anybody. It's just you sort of lose yourself. You run out of energy completely, and that was the lowest of the low. Easily the lowest of the low, where I felt like it couldn't get any worse than this, and it didn't. That was really the worst it got. In fact, it got so bad that I prayed. I took the advice of my grandmother, who said my biggest flaw was that I never asked for help. And she's like, you need to start asking God for help. And I've always been one of those people where it's hard for me to ask for help, but it's even harder for me to pray and to ask for help from something that I'm not sure even exists, you know? But let me tell you, it was the first time I prayed in this entire ordeal. I hadn't prayed before. What I had asked for was strength. So I didn't pray. I prayed for the first time, and in that prayer I said, please just give me the strength to overcome this. I'm not asking for miracles. You don't need to cure anything. Just give me the strength to overcome this. And I shit you not, like a miracle, 6 out of 6 times that I prayed, because I counted it, because I wanted to be sure that this was happening, this was working, 6 out of 6 times, it worked. Within 5 to 10 minutes, the pain had gone. 6 out of 6 times. Now, you might say coincidence, or hell, you could even say placebo. But you need to understand, I was aware that this could be a placebo. And I was trying to be as critical as possible, but I'm telling you, every time I prayed, I felt better without paracetamol. I would just lay there with my hands crossed, and I'd just pray and like try to sort of focus on putting my energy into the prayer, and really I tried to humble myself. I didn't try to demand anything. I didn't say, oh, I'm gonna try to, if you're real, then you're gonna help me. I was like humbly saying, listen, just give me the strength to overcome this. Just give me a tiny bit of that universal power, you know, just a little bit, so I can overcome this. Not just for me, this is important. I was like saying, not just for me, but think about all the happiness you will give my family and friends if I get out of this, you know. And sure enough, I did. I felt better 6 out of 6 times. And within 3 days, what happened was they would give me a special chemo. This chemo was, hold on, let me just sell some stuff. Selling it. Oh, I got a shield. I'm going to change my shield. That's pretty cool. I think that's it. Mhm. Okay, done. So yeah, after 3 days of this fever, the doctors had to allow the the white blood cells to do their thing. So it was good that he left it for 3 days. Then they're like, okay, I think you're ready to get chemo. Now, this wasn't just any kind of chemo. This was a very specific chemo that came out really recently. In fact, people couldn't do this before. And matter of fact, even more crazy, people that whose donors were 50% compatible couldn't get transplants before because this chemo didn't exist. Now, what does this chemo do? It's a chemo that it's special because it only or it mostly focuses on white blood cells. So what it does is it's a chemo that really, really hates white blood cells, and if it can, it will choose to kill a white blood cell before attacking any other cell. So it's probably not so good against cancer, but it's really good against clearing your body of white blood cells. So giving me this chemo, I think they drip fed it to me for 24 hours. It was really powerful dose. This chemo, what it did was, it would kill off all these white blood cells that were killing the cancer, but also going to eventually attack my body. And this is the reason why before you couldn't have a transplant with 50% compatibility before this chemo existed, because eventually those white blood cells from the donor would start killing your own body, so you would die. But with this chemo, we killed those white blood cells and prevented them from attacking my body anymore. So eventually my fever started to go down because of the chemo, because it was killing off those famous soldiers, those white blood cells. And my body stabilized again. But my side effects, like sort of the mucositis and all that, that continued, and it did get worse. It didn't get any better. In fact, I was there in total I was there for a month and a half. And out of that month and a half, 1 month and a week, or 1 month and 4 days maybe, I was struggling with these symptoms. Just diarrhea 20 times a day, puking 20 times a day. Eventually I started puking less, so fewer times, but more quantity. And I was also crapping fewer times, but more quantity too. And it was just really disgusting. Eventually I started getting rashes all over my body because the diarrhea and the puke was irritating my skin and irritating my gums, and the acid was affecting my throat, because you're puking acid too. So they had to give me morphine. Eventually I couldn't take any pills orally because, orally I couldn't swallow pills because it was because my esophagus, rather than being soft and nice, it was all rugged and fucked up. So that sucked, really. What they had to do was they had to change the medicine into something that could be injected, or if not, they had to pulverize, or they had to sort of crush the pills into a powder form, which they could then put into a liquid, which they then gave to me through my mouth, but like injecting it as a liquid. And it didn't really help that much. It hurt just as much. So that sucked. So yeah, that was the abyss. That was terrible. Eventually I started getting better. My white blood cell count started to go up, which meant that the bone marrow was successfully implanted. Because that means the bone marrow is active. If your blood levels are going up, if you're having more white blood cells and red blood cells and platelets, that means that this new bone marrow has sort of planted itself in your body and was already beginning to produce. And in the middle of all of this, actually when the pain was terrible and I still had fever, I had the only dream I remember having in the entire sequence of what happened, this entire treatment. And the dream was pretty simple. I was sort of hanging So imagine you're hanging from like a tree branch. I was hanging from something, and I was surrounded by blackness. It was all black. I couldn't see anything. And I was just looking around, everything's black. And in the dream, I sort of was aware, I knew that I was inside my bone. Any kind of bone, really. I think it was a femur or something. And I was looking around, everything was quiet, very still. I felt really at peace. And then out of nowhere, right in front of me, this being walks out. And this being was like this tall, really pale, black-haired person with long black hair and black clothes. He kind of looked like a rock star, like a simple-looking rock star, no chains or anything like that. I think he was wearing a black hat. And he looked a lot like a friend of mine called Theo, which is ironic because Theo means God. Yeah, kind of weird, no? Weird coincidence. And this guy walks up to me and he's like, look around. And I look around and he's like, no, look around. And I look around again and he's like, there's nothing left. And I keep looking around like, what are you talking about? And he repeats, there's nothing left. And then my dream finished. And today, like, I take dreams pretty seriously. There's a reason they exist. Otherwise, we would have evolved not to have dreams. What's the point? But anyway, I truly believe dreams are pretty powerful and again, very human, very unique probably to us, or I don't know. It's something very powerful to me. And so I was thinking, what does there's nothing left mean? Was it that there was no more cancer left? Or that there was no more white blood cells left in my body to attack me? And so that's why after I had that dream, in fact, I stopped having fever. So my fever went away after that. So that's pretty cool, right? And it's sort of weird that it was exactly after having prayed, because that's when I began praying. So maybe I was going through a whole spiritual phase or something, but that dream stuck with me. And when I woke up from that dream, I was feeling so much better, and the fever had gone away and it never came back. So yeah, that was around day 6. And then, you know, as I said, the days passed and at first the symptoms got worse and then better. I was taking many pills. I counted 17 or 19. No, I had 17 pills there and then 19 eventually. It started at 17 and then 19. And then when they finally let me go, I had to go away with 19 pills per day. That's what I had to do. And we still have time. So I'm going to talk about when they let me go, what happened. First of all, I was so happy. I was so happy because I couldn't imagine, I had 2 catheters in me. I had a liquid diet that I had only begun eating a solid diet a week before they let me go. I still had diarrhea, still puking once a day at least. I was puking blood for a while because, just imagine, the mucositis was making my whole digestive system sort of peel away. Of course there was going to be blood. And imagine, just the worst things, you know, the abyss was terrible. I couldn't take a shower, I couldn't relax, I was fever, everything. I just wanted to go home. So when they let me go home, the first thing I wanted to do was take a shower. I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to talk to my family, I just wanted a nice warm shower. But I could barely walk because I'd stayed laying down for a month and a half, only getting up to go to the bathroom. Whoa, this is like, we're reaching the end of the game. And I could barely walk. I remember I walked out of the hospital, and when I got into the taxi, I passed out. I couldn't respond. The taxi driver and my mom were talking to me, and I was asleep. I couldn't respond. Eventually, I got home, and I passed out again on the couch. Then I was like, okay, well, I'm home, so I should be taking a shower. I went to the shower and I couldn't stand up. I couldn't stay standing. So I lay down, at first crouching like an animal, with the rain, sort of like the shower felt like rain on me. I was really stressful and uncomfortable, so I lay down and I took a bath. But I wasn't enjoying myself, and my appetite went away, and I kept puking. Like, the puking even got worse, and I'm like, crap, I'm gonna have to end up going back to the hospital. Luckily, my temperature wasn't going up, and the doctors had told me puking is fine, diarrhea is fine, but if you have fever, you have to come back. So luckily, I didn't have temperature or anything like that, but I couldn't keep any food down. And for maybe 2 weeks after getting back home, I couldn't, like, I was getting malnourished because all the food that I was eating, I was puking right out, and I still had diarrhea several times a day. And so the doctors told me, you're going to have to take some pretty strong corticoids just to help you out. And that leveled me out completely. I was taking 40 milligrams of a very powerful corticoid every day. And that just turned my life around. I felt so much better. I took a shower. I cried in the shower because of happiness. I cried because I was eating and I could finally taste the food, because my taste went away too. Because part of the mucous membrane is your tongue. So I kind of lost the taste buds on my tongue, which was really weird. I couldn't taste anything. Eventually my taste buds grew back and I could taste food again, and I tasted bread, and I ate my favorite foods. My mom every day made me something different. She was like, what do you want to eat today? What do you want to drink today? Really, like, the corticoids made a 180 for me. And I couldn't have been happier. I had some temperature spikes. In fact, the first episode from this series, I was having a temperature spike. And then I had another temperature spike and several more during this series. So, in fact, you were oh, that's so weird. That's so weird. The series, episode 1, was right when they started giving me corticoids. And that's when I got this sort of rush to do things in my life. And that's when I began having, we have to, like, we're running out of time. That's when I began thinking, yeah, I'm gonna start making a video series. And we're finishing this episode with those days of the first episode ever. That's crazy. That's 2 weeks after being no, that's 3 weeks, because that was 1 week after the corticoids, and the first 2 weeks were hell. That was the 3rd week, and we're gonna see something really special here. I'm just gonna kill these things really quick. Blah blah blah. We're gonna see the ultimate baddie, the source of all the monsters. We're gonna see him, but we're not gonna fight him. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Stop trying to stop me. I just want to see the big baddie. Nam. Big Nam. Well, no, we didn't see him. I'm just gonna try to find... No, we're not going to reach it. We're not going to reach it. We're just going to have to end the episode there and start from the back there. But yeah, that's it. And that reached... So that's how we did a weird time thing there, where the series begins with the end of this episode. And next episode, I'm going to talk about something random, I think. And then we're going to see the ultimate baddie. We're going to fight him too. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I had a really a lot of fun. Finally, like, reliving that happiness of ending this, you know? And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. I love you guys. Bye.